Once upon a time, there was a man who could have as much gold as he wanted. His name was Musa, the man who sat on the throne of Mali from 1312 to 1337 as Mansa, a title equivalent to that of emperor, so he is commonly known as Mansa Musa. His dominions covered much of West Africa and included lands of great and varied wealth, including 3 of the continent's largest gold deposits. He literally had as much money as he wanted and was therefore considered the richest person in history. His wealth was estimated by taking into account the wealth described in the chronicles of the time, which could have been exaggerated to a certain extent, and the relative value of this in his time compared to today, since wealth is nothing more than a comparison of purchasing power with respect to the price of goods. Moreover, given the immense mineral reserves he possessed, Mansa Musa could have obtained all the gold he wanted just by having the time necessary to extract it. So his fortune was virtually infinite. So this begs the question, who was Mansa Musa? He came from a lineage that had served the previous ruling family as viziers. He was proclaimed Mansa in 1312 after the previous one was shipwrecked in an expedition that supposedly attempted to cross the Atlantic. But he became famous during his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. Musa was a very devout Muslim but also a shrewd ruler who did not hesitate to use this obligation of faith as a propaganda maneuver. According to the chronicles, the emperor's entourage consisted of 60,000 companions and 12,000 slaves, dressed in silk and carrying gold scepters, and between 80 and 100 camels, each loaded with more than 130 kilos of the precious metal. Along the way, he generously gave alms to the poor, and when he arrived in Cairo, he distributed so much gold to the population that it caused the price of gold to drop and caused an inflation that lasted more than a decade. As if all of his wealth were not enough, he did not refrain from expanding his dominions. His most important conquest was the Songhai Kingdom, to which the city of Timbuktu belonged and to which he would soon owe much of its prosperity. There he founded the Sankore Madrasa, which for centuries was the greatest intellectual center of Islam in Africa, and made it a first-class enclave on the trans-Saharan trade routes. Its prosperity attracted architects from Egypt and Al-Andalus, who endowed it with their characteristic mosques and madrasas. Having more than fulfilled the Muslim obligation to distribute a portion of his wealth to the less fortunate, and having devoted another large portion to the construction of civil and religious buildings, he still had more than enough gold to afford a life of luxury, and he held a large collections of precious and rare objects. For a time, Timbuktu was the greatest marketplace of West Africa, where European merchants came to sell their wares with the assurance that they would not return empty-handed. The size and wealth of Mansa Musa's empire also assured them that they could easily find exotic products such as ivory or gold jewelry in Timbuktu. Mansa Musa's fame was so great that it transcended the borders of the Muslim world. At the end of the 14th century, the Majorcan Jew, Crescus Abraham, depicted him in his famous Catalan Atlas, a collection of maps representing the entire world known to the Europeans of his time. Yet despite being one of the most famous figures in medieval African history, relatively little is known about him. The closest sources are the Egyptian chronicler Al-Makrisi and the Andalusian thinker Ibn Khaldun, who wrote a few decades after his death in 1337 and relied on accounts from people who had seen him, so it is difficult to say how much truth and how much myth there was in their stories. So, what would you buy if you had unlimited money? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video. See you in the next one.